You know, when we think about revolutions, we usually picture the fight, right? The struggle for freedom. But what about the day after? What happens when the parade is over? Today, we're going to get into Nadine Gordimer's incredible short story, A Soldier's Embrace, which does exactly that. It explores the complicated, messy, and really human moments that come next.
It's so easy to focus on that one big moment of victory, the end of a long, hard fight. But this story, it really makes you ask a tougher question. What happens when all the cheering stops, and you have to start actually living in this new, uncertain reality?
And boom, that's how the story kicks off. No long intro, no backstory. We are dropped right into the middle of history being made. This one line, it just perfectly captures that feeling of chaotic, spontaneous joy, and it really sets the stage for everything that's about to unfold.
Okay, so to really get the power of this story, we first need to understand the world it's reflecting. We're talking about a world that's just wrestling with this incredibly painful and complicated shift away from colonial rule. It was a theme that was echoing all across the African continent at the time. Now, what's interesting is that Gordimer never actually says where the story is set, but it is just vibrating with the struggle against South Africa's apartheid. This was a brutal, brutal system of institutionalized segregation. The word literally means separateness, and it created this tense, fractured world that's the perfect backdrop for her story.
And this chart, wow, it just lays out the stark reality of that system. You had a tiny white minority, less than 20% of the population, controlling pretty much everything. The land, the money, the government, all over the vast black majority. This deep, fundamental imbalance is really the engine that drives the whole conflict.
And you have to understand, the author here, Nadine Gordimer, she wasn't just writing from a distance. She was a Nobel Prize winner, a fierce activist, and she was an active member of the African National Congress. She was so involved, she even advised Nelson Mandela. So her writing, it doesn't just describe history, it comes from a place of deep personal conviction.
So let's meet our main players, because each one of them gives us a different window into this changing world. We see everything through the narrator's eyes. She's this observer, kind of caught in the middle of it all. Her husband is the lawyer, a real white liberal idealist. Then you've got Chipende, who represents the new black political power. And finally, Muchanga, the family servant, whose story shows us the real-world limits of this newfound freedom.
All right, so let's get to the heart of it all. The one moment that gives the story its name. It's this single instant that somehow manages to hold all the hope and all the confusion of this brand new era.
So, in the total chaos of this celebrating crowd, our narrator is just yanked into this three-way hug. On one side of her is a white colonial soldier, and on the other, a black freedom fighter. And Gordimer's description is so raw, so century. This is not some clean political photo op. It's a messy, physical, completely human collision.
And right here, this is the absolute core of the story's tension. On one hand, the narrator sees this moment as the perfect poster for unity, this beautiful image of reconciliation. But on the other hand, she remembers the raw, gritty human details, the soldier's pimples, the fighter's scabbed-over wound. It's that huge gap between the perfect idea of unity and the messy reality of the actual people involved. And here's the thing. She doesn't tell her husband about it. And why not? Because she knows exactly what he'd do. He'd just file it away as a neat little example of his liberal principles. But for her, it was something way deeper, way more personal than that. It couldn't just be squeezed into some political box.
Okay, so you've got this incredible moment of hope, but it doesn't last. As the story moves on, that initial excitement from the ceasefire day, it starts to wear off. And that beautiful, simple vision of a united future, well, it starts to unravel.
And you can actually see this hope just kind of fall apart in stages. At first, it's pure joy, but then you start to see these little cracks. The local butcher, a white man, quietly packs up and leaves. You hear about the first incidents of looting, and pretty soon that gives way to political infighting, and a new, much colder reality starts to take hold.
And this leads to what is, honestly, one of the most painful ironies in the whole story. The lawyer, this man who risked everything for the revolution, suddenly finds himself becoming irrelevant. The cause that he championed just doesn't have room for him anymore. His ideas get ignored, his career is blocked, he's pushed to the margins of the very world he helped to create.
So all of this feeling of being pushed aside, it all builds to a really tough ending. It turns out that for the white liberals who fought for this new world, well, they might not actually get to live in it.
There's this moment with Chipende, the man the lawyer mentored, who's now a big government official. When Chapande finds out they're leaving the country, his professional mask just cracks, and he cries. For a second, you see the real person under there, mourning a personal friendship, and maybe even mourning the simpler ideals they used to share.
And this is the ultimate, most bitter twist, right? In order to keep doing the work he's always done, to keep defending his principles, the lawyer has to leave this new free nation and move to a country that's still under white minority rule. I mean, how tragic a paradox is that?
For the narrator, though, all of this pain, it really comes down to her houseplants. These huge plants that she's grown for years. They're a symbol of her deep, physical roots in this place. It's her home, her identity, and she can't take them with her. It's like she's literally having to cut off a living part of herself to leave.
So what does this all add up to? Well, the genius of this story is how it uses these small, personal moments and these simple, everyday objects to explore the massive and often contradictory meaning of freedom itself.
It's just brilliant how Gordimer does this. The plants, they show us the personal cost, that severed connection to home. Machanga's little cart, that reveals how economic freedom can be incredibly fragile, almost an illusion. And the new machine guns carried by the new soldiers, they're this chilling sign that one form of power might just be replaced by another, maybe even scarier one.
I mean, just think about Muchanga's story for a second. His freedom is a small cart and a peddler's license, and he is so proud. He sees himself as a future rich merchant. But the narrator knows it's a pipe dream. She knows shortages are coming and his little business is doomed. It's just this heartbreaking reminder that, just because you're politically free, it doesn't mean you're economically stable.
And that's really what the story leaves us with, isn't it? A soldier's embrace isn't actually about winning the war. It's about what happens the day after. It forces us to ask, once the old system is gone, who gets to write the new rules? Who gets to belong? And who gets left out? This story suggests that the hardest work, the most human work, always begins long after the victory parade has gone home.